Hello everyone, welcome back. I was feeling very inspired to build something in The Sims the other day, and so because it's me, I wanted to make it a creative space. So I made a little studio with a lofted living area looking over the water in Brindleton Bay. I initially built this as a residential lot because I was kind of building my dream studio space. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll probably know that I make a lot of things, and I would love to have a dedicated space for it someday because I do not have that at all at the moment. I did art all through high school, and I've done some digital and traditional art in the last few years. I got pretty into it during the first year of the pandemic, actually. I was living in Japan at the time, alone, and that was kind of isolating. So I think art was really a bright spot at that time. Also, baking bread. I did a lot of baking. If you scroll far enough down my Instagram page, you can see some of the art I did for Peachtober in 2020, which is kind of like Inktober, but it's run by the Australian artist Furry Little Peach on her social media. The prompts are all really cute. I was actually surprised by how much I like some of the pieces I did for it and how much I still like them today. But unfortunately, I ended up moving apartments that month, and I was so busy and stressed out trying to figure out moving in Japan that unfortunately I didn't get to finish it. But last year, in 2022, I did the Peachtober prompts in embroidery, and I did manage to finish it, which was very exciting. I'm actually like 4 days into learning how to use Blender at the moment to make 3D models. I am trying the infamous donut tutorial, but I haven't rage quit yet. Probably because I did another tutorial before I started this one, so it's not like my first experience of Blender. But I think playing The Sims so much actually gives you an advantage in starting out with Blender, because the way you pivot the camera around is the same as the Sims 3 camera, which is just holding the middle mouse button. So I opened up Blender and immediately just tried that just out of habit, and I was surprised when it actually worked. But there are a lot of hotkeys and stuff you need to remember, like a lot. I hope I'll be good enough with Blender to try Peachtober this year, but make all the prompts as little 3D models. I think that would be really cute. But I am mostly into crochet these days. Drawing has kind of taken a backseat for a while, although I would love to get back into it again. I don't really have a lot of time for that at the moment because I am currently in the midst of trying to make 130 different granny squares to make into this really colourful throw. I have 35 so far. So I should be done by the end of this year. It's a bit of a long process. Some of the squares are beginner level and they're pretty easy, but some of them are ultra advanced according to the book, and they take a few hours to finish. I usually make them while I catch up on watching YouTube videos or something, but sometimes even that is too distracting and I just have to force myself to sit there in silence. But anyway, I built this in Brindleton Bay because I very rarely even play there, much less build there. And it is a really beautiful world. I'm a Cancer, I'm a water baby. I feel most relaxed when I'm near water, which is also probably because I'm Australian, so water and swimming is a pretty big part of our culture. I was a big swimmer when I was a kid, but I had glue ear in my left ear and had pretty constant ear infections and ended up having to have surgery. So it wasn't something I could pursue because I wasn't allowed to get water in my ear at all, even when I showered. But I still like being near water even if I don't swim anymore. I could now if I wanted to, but I just don't really get the opportunity. But there are so many nice water views in Brindleton Bay. I chose this lot specifically because it's kind of secluded and it's a really good size, but it has a pier like right in front of it. I can just imagine that you would get a lot of really nice sea air up there and like a really nice breeze.
So I initially made it into a space where your like freelance artist, sim, or whatever could come here and live and work. And I put the knitting and cross stitch stuff in there too because I would want it there if I was using this space. But after I finished filming the speed build, I felt like it was a little bit empty. So I went in to add a few things the next day, and I ended up making a lot more changes than I thought I was going to. I actually ended up making it into a community lot because I feel like it's more lively and it's just a better use of the space rather than it being a home for just one or two Sims. Actually, on the day I recorded this, I was having pretty bad allergies. I was sneezing a lot. My nose was running. It was just really unpleasant, which I think was due to the fact that it had rained the previous day. And then it was windy that day and it was just blowing stuff around. So I know I'm allergic to grass seeds, but I'm also probably allergic to other stuff. I should probably get one of those allergy tests done. But regardless, in the temperate climate of Sydney, that means I get to have fun allergies during all 4 seasons. I got allergies pretty consistently when I was living in Japan too, but usually not in winter because everything was frozen. I feel like when I moved back home, I exchanged that allergy relief for not being super cold, which honestly, I got used to the cold, so I'm not sure how smart that was. I also didn't get eczema too badly in Japan, but it has flared up quite a lot since I moved back home. If you see a red patch at the base of my throat in any of my videos, that is eczema. I've had it on my hands and also my eyes over the past few months, which was just the worst. But in the past week or so, it's decided it wants to hang around at the base of my neck. I could not tell you why, only that it's really irritating. But in the end, after my head had cleared up a little bit, I made it into a generic lot type. I used the makerspace sublot requirements from the Eco Lifestyle Community Space lot type, just to have more of an idea of the things that I should put in there. But I didn't stick with that lot type because it's a weird one that you have to vote for. But it does have everything you would need for one, except like the community board, because I felt like that just stood out a little bit too much. But I am really proud of how this turned out. I feel like if this existed in real life, I would never leave. And your Sims don't have to either, because I kept to the living space. So if your Sim has like work to do or an aspiration to work on and they don't have stuff for it at home, they can literally just come here, sleep, and work for as long as they need. They might have to fight other Sims for stuff, but still. I did end up putting a public bathroom in the back, so hopefully your Sims won't need to fight for a toilet, at least. I feel like this build is a little different from the other builds that I've made because I usually go with cottages or suburbans. I genuinely think this ended up being the first modern kind of build that I've done that actually looks good. Even though I changed the lot type and shuffled around the things inside, I kept the building almost exactly the same because I feel like it works for either space, maybe a little bit more the community lot. I did cut out how much I struggled trying to find a good wallpaper and roof for it though, because it took me like half an hour. In total, this recorded part took me about 3 hours, but I cut a whole bunch of it out to try and get the speed build part a lot shorter. Speed builds are super fun to watch, but I have this really bad habit of placing something and then moving the camera around to see how it looks from a bunch of different angles, which when you speed it up, is just way too much moving around way too quickly. Plus, some bits were kind of just boring, like putting all the windows in. Like, you get it, they're windows, they're easy. So in the end, I got this down to just over 10 minutes, which I feel like is a good length. I didn't record me going in and changing it, but I think you'll be able to see the changes pretty easily when I go back in and give you the tour. Also, sorry you can't see my face for this bit of the video, but my brain isn't doing too good today. and I can't sit here and talk for 10 minutes without it being all over the place and completely unusable. Trust me, I have tried. So I ended up writing myself a kind of script. I feel like it might work better. I can get a lot more into 10 minutes by writing it out first instead of trying to freestyle and sit in front of the camera. Plus, you can see the whole game screen without my head in the way. Not for long though.
Hello again. Here we are in front of the finished build. You can see the view in the back is really nice. So let's go inside and see what I ended up finishing up with. Alright, here's the view from the front door. It's quite nice. These trees give it a little bit of privacy from the road. Anyway, come through the door here and we have our little reception / office space. What I did was actually put in like the best computers you can buy in the whole game here in the front. So if you want to use a computer, you can come here and play My Sims if you really want. But yes, through this door is the actual studio space. I put in some more comfy chairs, and also there is a corkboard here with just like announcements and stuff. I also put in a coffee maker because I feel like that was probably smart. And a couple of sinks. There's some clay mugs, just clutter on this table, but there's still a couple of open spaces that your Sims can use. And I put the fabricator in here, and I did come in and check that it worked under the stairs, and it does. It's fine. I've got 3 kids' activity tables so they can come and sit and draw as well. Let's start off in this corner. We've got music. This is the artist's painter's corner, decorated quite nicely. And then we've got some like digital art, still like a nice view outside. Digital art there. And here we have woodworking and candle making in the corner here. And then I've got some cross stitching and knitting stuff here. I put a couple more chairs and couches in too. Just felt like a good idea. And then we come outside. Still got this little seating space here. I put the juice scissor out here because I couldn't really figure out somewhere else to put it that would make any sense. And also you've got the recycler so you can get your bits and pieces to make your fabricated stuff. I got a smaller table, and there is a grill so you will not run out of food. And then there's the public toilet just over here with the nice little dogwood tree next to it. And I also made this space into a gnome garden because I was initially thinking I could make this lot into a museum because there's a lot of paintings inside. But to make a museum, you need sculptures. And these gnomes count as sculptures. But I thought I'd just keep them there because I think it's kind of fun. Oop, I did not realize those paintings were clipping, so I will have to go and fix those. But I'll do that in a second. Like, as soon as I entered onto this lot to play test it, like, Sims just came in and started making stuff. It was kind of cool. I like it. Alright, so up here we've got the stairs. We have our little like living area. There's a couple of chairs, and this is from Tiny Living, so you can basically do anything there. Play music, read books, watch TV, whatever you want to do. The bathroom is just through this door here, and yeah, pretty much everything you need. And yeah, dining table, double bed, dresser, fridge, stove, all that good stuff that you need to live. And then this lovely view of all the like gallery walls and stuff. Imagine this is like paintings that Sims who have come here have made and then given to be hung up here. Yeah, it's nice. Let's come out this door. This is the little garden rooftop garden seating area. We've got our little bird bath. It's cute. It's nice and green. And then this side here is the balcony area. Once again, just kind of green. Somewhere nice to sit and look out at the view. And yeah, that come down the stairs here and along this little path kind of thing, and you can go down this hill. I don't know if any Sims are actually going to do that, but it's there. But yeah, that is basically what I've made, and it's fun. I really enjoyed making this. Your Sims can do like pretty much anything in here. Move objects on and just make sure this isn't clipping as much. I might bring this out here like that. There we go. Okay, and I will put it on the gallery right now for you. Waterside Studio. Another good reason to not make it residential was it is worth 126,500 simoleons. I think this uses a lot of packs too, by the way. So I'm sorry. I think the community lot actually needs a mailbox, but I put one in anyway. Just in case someone's writing to the studio. Who knows? Okay, so that is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed watching me build this lot. I really enjoyed building it. It was super fun, and I'm definitely going to use this in my saves when I play. You might see this in some of my Let's Plays. Let me know if you used this lot or if you liked it in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching this video. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss anything else that I make, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. I will see you in another video very soon. Bye everyone!